Hey, hey, hey. Hang on. I don't know if they can hear. Hang on. I don't think they can hear y'all. I don't think they can. Yep, hang on. Let me fix that. This is why I like to preview this before, but they changed the way that is now. Bugs me. Hang on. Why isn't this working? They can hear us? Probably just me. Is it just me or everyone? Can you hear yourself? Ah. What the hell?
Let's take his desktop screen.
There we go. I got it. I got it. I got it. All right, we should be good now. Say something.
How can you guys hear us? What is this good?
What up, what up, what up, what up?
Isaac is on. Holy cow.
Isaac is here?
Yeah.
No, Isaac is not here.
Yeah.
Auto rescue tools. I was.
Hell
you can ask.
yeah.
You can
Why
ask.
is Isaac not with us?
You can ask Chad. I did nothing but talk about Keith Perkins and Isaac for most of the second half of the Asian programming class tonight.
I know you're teaching. You're supposed to tell me you're teaching it so I can get on there and razz you.
Oh no. I was fumbling through it pretty well myself. All right.
Sorry, guys. Little technical issues. Been a while.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's probably good that I'm super quiet. But anyway.
You guys missed a whole lot.
All right.
A whole lot.
Just
Basically
me
us
being me.
whining and bitching. About
It
the
reminds me,
industry in general.
Falco, if you teach a class you're not really confident about, you just kind of do this.
YOLO.
We can't hear you.
I shut the router off and hope Sam picks it up, takes it, and runs with it.
What's the equivalent of like the? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Like with the internet.
Yeah.
You put what did that kid do? Loading. Black screen
Yeah.
says loading.
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Last week, I was doing the domestic programming, and in the middle of the screen talking about good stable internet, I'm complaining that I don't trust the hotspot on my iPhone. My internet cut out, and I had to finish the class with the hotspot on my iPhone. So it worked out perfectly. So anyway, how's everybody doing?
I'm Gucci.
Hey, Brian Ragland. It has been a while. We haven't done this in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a good thing because I wanted to come on here and just rant and rave and.
Oh, I'm about to rant. I got some things I want to say because this is.
Oh boy.
Go ahead.
Can I
Go
share
ahead.
Can I share my screen? I just want to.
Absolutely.
I just want to share.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
No,
Oh,
no.
Lord.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
This is fun.
I can
This is
mute
fine.
him. Hold on, let me mute him.
It's not going to be it's not a light switch you're going to show us, is it?
No.
This better not be my video. All right.
No.
no.
Can
Okay.
you see my screen?
Uh-huh.
Barely.
All right.
Hey, it's AOS.
All right.
You
All
just
right.
zoom in.
So,
There you go.
so Perkins, what is AOS?
The Air Online. I don't remember what it stands for.
Updated
It's all
version
the
of AOL.
BMW software. What it is it's $30. That's what it is.
The
But
German
it-
version of POS.
But would you say this is factory BMW buying
Yes.
service information? Would you say this is not all data?
I'd say that's not all data. That's
Would you
for
say
sure.
this is not Mitchell or Identifix?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So I'll show you what I
Hey
dealt
guys,
with today.
guys, we have a blank screen.
Oh shit! Hang on. Fuck. God damn it. Beep. I mean,
Oh wow, we are terrible.
You
Right
should
now,
trust us with everything.
Right? Yeah. Right now, Hawken is going. These freaking amateurs.
it's been a while.
I don't really care about Canadians.
Chris,
opinions.
just use your
We're
camera and point it at your point it at the computer screen.
And
You
not
might
only
not want me to take that camera.
Service information.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think you could. Gee, I think that would work.
Oh hell no!
Alright, options. It was sharing a different monitor.
Why did we put the guy in the car seat in control of the?
I know, right?
Text without tech skills.
Alright, start
Alright,
talking
so-
about something else. I'll fix that.
Oh, because this really here,
Everybody be crazy quiet so we can make Brian even more uncomfortable.
So-
no, you can't even see nothing. It's not helping.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
What you got to do is, guys, what you got to do is
Sorry.
only have one
So-
mic and talk to the back of people's heads and yell at them.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Does
so
Brian have all of our faces on YouTube? 'Cause if so, everyone's watching me run network cable in my building.
yes, they are. They are. Yep. So, all right. So, I did Mario's this weekend, and Super Mario's training event this weekend with Hawken,
Yeah.
and it is incredible that they put on such an incredible event. I mean, like, it's just amazing to me, the event that they do, the catering and raffling off tools, and I'm 100% jealous that we haven't done that ourselves.
Let's do it. No, I was gonna say I'm glad you brought that up because I think Mario definitely needs some credit
Yeah.
for making
And
these
Jason.
things happen.
The guys
Okay,
at
my
Automotive,
screen my screen is sharing now.
I got it.
Well, it's
No,
a black
I-
it's a black screen.
No, it's not. I fixed it.
Okay.
Give it a second.
It looks black to me.
Give it a second.
No, it's coming up. It's coming
Uno,
up.
dos,
So,
tres.
did I see DeFazio in front of a Pacer there for a second?
You betcha.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Nice.
Okay, so we're back to it. Now it's like.
Well, what's the difference between a gremlin and a pacer, though?
Can you guys?
One's
guys-
uglier.
Can you guys agree that this is factory BMW service information, not stolen from anywhere else?
Yes.
All right,
Sure.
cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I had a left headlight that I had, that an issue was not communicating, right? So what do? You start with powers and grounds, correct?
You gotta zoom in.
Yep. SWC in the yeah.
Okay. So on the left headlight, can we zoom in any further? No, we can't. All right. So right there. So you can see this is the left headlight. All right, powered by this red and yellow wire, by this junction box rear. Make sense?
Yeah.
You guys see that? Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't have any power here. If I don't have power here, with this headlight going to communicate?
Probably not.
What's the
Oh,
first thing
wait.
you would do? Go on.
Maybe.
This is not a trick question, by the way.
I can't steal a diagram, so I don't know.
All right. So
If
All
you
right.
have no power there, we're checking the fuse.
okay.
Right.
So we check the fuse, and where is that fuse, guys?
Power distribution.
In the
Box.
rear distribution box, yeah.
In the
All right.
rear.
Cool.
In
So
the
yeah. So cool.
D2A.
Yeah, check this out. What's cool about these diagrams is they tell you where everything is. You scroll over here, and it's over here, and there it is. All right, we do it. We can agree that this is in the rear of the vehicle, correct? Does that look
Yeah.
like it's the rear of the
Looks
vehicle?
like it's on
Yeah.
the
It's the
gas
fuel
can.
door.
Yeah.
Okay, so I go there, and that fuse has power.
Mm.
All right, so that fuse has power, but I don't have power up at the headlight. So what would you guys think?
Assume an open
You gotta
circuit.
open in the wiring.
I would. So great. This was an accident car, and so it was hit right over here, in the wheel. Makes sense, right? First, so lift it up, pull the wheel up, pull the wheel well out, and found the broke. I have pictures of it somewhere. I'll show you the broken frickin' wire, the broken red and yellow wire that was right there. And guess what? I fix it, solder it back together. No power still. So So,
You
What-
don't want
what
to
would
solder,
you-
do you? You should use a butt connector.
what would you do next?
Scotch lock.
Yeah, Scotch lock it. So
Overlay.
I'm well, fine, but I move a little further back because this whole thing was destroyed, and I cut the entire harness open because I could see it's all instead of Tessa taped, it's all Scotch taped or whatever.
Gorilla tape.
Scotch tape.
Can we?
Yeah, whatever. Electrical taped.
Sounds like a New York body shop for sure.
It is a New York body shop. So I get all the way to the firewall, and it's all fine. We go back into test the tape, and so I can see it's factory, and it seems fine. So I call the customer. This is the second accident in the car on the same side. The first accident was hit right around here.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, cool. So I start removing the stuff and making my way back. All right. Still no problem. So I said stop. So because it makes sense, right? That it goes from if you got a fuse box here and this headlight's out, it's gonna go here, down, and up over here, right?
oh no.
I'm finding all the yellow. It's got red and yellow is apparently a common color on these cars, and all the red and yellow wires right here that I'm testing all have power, but my one red and yellow wire over here does not have power. So that point I got to be like, okay, I need to stop because something's not right. So I cut the entire harness open and follow it up, and that red and yellow wire does not go here; it goes right here. You know what's right here?
Ooh.
A
Mud.
fucking fuse box.
Oh.
A fuse box. Not the rear.
That's a
fuse
German
box.
word, by the way. He was not cursing. It's F-U-C-H. F-U-C-H-I-N-G.
Not the rear fuse box that the factory diagram says it's a front fuse box. A front fuse box that and you know what's even crazier? I just to be 100% sure, because I went to F225, which is clearly marked on that fuse box. We go over here. F225 is clearly marked. I even went to the F225 is right here, right? It was a 20 amp fuse, and I flipped the thing over, all right, and I find the correct connector that it goes to, and it's a red and yellow wire of the same gauge.
Oh.
I bet Mitchell wiring diagram would have had that on there.
I bet you Motologic would have had it.
So, yeah, okay.
Says the advanced employee.
Ding, raise.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Same shit, different toilet bowl.
We're back.
Yeah.
That was weird.
But it was the
We were
exact-
gone.
We were gone?
Yeah, I lost internet.
Yeah.
But
Well, you were driving through an odd town over there, apparently from the.
We're back now, though. So
Right?
it was only about 10
Man,
seconds.
this is a nice car. I don't want to hear it. Look at this thing.
It's so new. They still haven't taken it out of the box.
Look at
So
that
anyway,
car.
for those who didn't hear my rant,
The last 10 seconds.
yeah. Okay, whatever.
Sorry.
Wrong. The service information was like not even close to right. Not even at all close. Like I don't even know how to win. But oh well. So anyway, that was my day.
Fun.
Rich,
I had a good day.
you had a good day?
Yeah, I did a 2020 QX50 camera and radar calibration. It went through just perfect, which was amazing.
As
So
we do. So you're saying it wasn't bent and
No.
facing down?
Well, oh, I wish I should have brought those pictures, because I got a call to do them last week, and I show up, and the radar connector is literally broken off, and there are wires snipped in half. So I show up, I look at that, and I go, okay. And they bolted that to a new bracket. So the damaged radar with the broken connectors got bolted to a new bracket. So yeah, so that was.
At least the bracket's new.
Yeah.
Usually it's the opposite, right?
Exactly. I was expecting, a mangled bracket. But no, it went with the new bracket. Everything was pointed in the right direction. Whoever put the windshield in actually put a good quality windshield in, so I didn't have any problems at all. I was amazed.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Didn't even want a beer until I saw Brian drink his beer.
Sorry.
Bad influence.
He's not having one of those wonderful IPAs that you love.
Yeah. I have a couple that's been in my fridge for a couple
I'll
years.
trade you a stout for that.
A stout.
Ooh, stouts.
I'll take a Bud Light.
Num nummy. Bud Light. Terrible.
Oh,
Is it
MR.
my
I'm like,
turn?
who is MR? That's Mike Robinson.
Mister.
What the fuck?
Incognito over there.
Bachi Bach?
Listen, you can call yourself MR all you want, but we're still going to make fun of you. We're still going to know it's you and make fun of you.
Changing
Mike?
his name right now.
Just kidding,
Mike.
We love you.
There he is.
Show yourself.
Mike. Let's see your shiny head, Mike.
What?
Oh,
So
come
what?
on.
You in the
do you want?
closet again?
I'm actually in the closet right now.
Nice.
That's
Literally.
not true. You came out years ago.
It's a big closet. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
envious.
So what's up, Rich?
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh,
Alright, share my
yeah.
screen.
Tommy, you say you had something, right? Wait, Tommy, tell me about your
you see
trip
that?
over to Molesk's.
To Moleskis?
Oh yeah, what did you do over there?
Show him how to do some hack shit. No,
How
man,
far is the drive, man?
7 hours.
It was enough to break his transfer case.
Yep.
Seriously? You had, like, car problems?
Yeah, I was in Ohio of all places. The fucking state of bad juju, and I'm in like a whiteout fucking condition for like say like 20 miles. So I'll just put it in 4 high, just let it roll. And when I get out of it, I forgot it was in 4 high, and I'm getting up to like 50. I just hear. I was like, oh, fuck. So I'm like, put it in back in two high, and it went away.
How is this Ohio's fault that you misused your own vehicle?
It's always. Oh,
I didn't misuse my own video.
Come
I'm
on.
just saying that by driving through that state, I must have gave me some bad juju.
Even Tommy's transfer case didn't want to be in Ohio.
Exactly.
That sounds
So,
like a tourist video.
So thankfully, man, Mike let me use this lift, and we did some digging, and yeah, man, like I think it's the front output shaft bearing on the transfer case, man. I think it's going bad. Or
I
it
think
went
somebody
bad.
broke into Keith's car, by the way.
Probably him.
What's going on?
I don't know. I just keep on seeing a little arm in the back.
He's getting mugged. And we're
Me
live.
and me and PJ were actually gonna fix it, man. But then I called a friend of mine, and he ran my VIN. He's like, "Nah, you still got warranty, man." He's like, "I think you should chance it." So I chanced it, and I made it back okay. But yeah, thanks PJ. Thank you, Mike. I had a great time.
You're
We
welcome.
had some really interesting sandwich.
Oh, I'm sure it had to be chicken nuggets if it was just
And some,
PJ.
and it was,
Doesn't need anything but chicken nuggets and pizza.
he did. He literally had a slice of pizza and boneless wings, which were fucking
At a
chicken nuggets.
steakhouse.
Well, he went boneless wings. Ooh.
Yeah.
that's not
picture is-
chicken. That's not chicken nuggets. That's boneless wings.
Branching out.
Bro, it's the same shit, man. It's just for adults that don't want to say they're eating chicken nuggets. It's the exact same shit.
It is.
The fuck? And he had some fries. Oh, my bad. He had some fries too.
Did you guys go and get Appletinis?
No,
Yeah.
that's not my style.
That's for him and me.
Yeah, he said that was sacred.
It is
That was-
sacred.
That was like a Freemason secret or some shit like that.
My booty still feels great.
Nice. What the hell are you drinking
I
anyway?
was gonna say, show us that purple
There's a Mike
elixir.
hard black cherry lemonade. I feel like a white girl.
Boy, that beginning of that could have went so wrong.
Yeah, Mike's hard what?
Like hard black what?
Cherry.
That would have been a really good
You know,
time
it-
for one of those loading bars.
Yes.
You know what's messed up? I have the bad reputation, but what the hell? I've been good today.
You're the first one to drop an F-bomb.
Tommy, drop the F-bomb.
I did.
Before
I'm
we
proud
went
of it
live.
too. Oh, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, man, I do have a little interesting one. I called Keith this morning on it, Perkins. So, 2017 Q60, it's an Infiniti Q60. It's a little two-door coupe. This fucking junk, it came in a week ago, and they had some like com codes and some ABS codes, and I said, man, look, man, I gotta set an appointment, man. I need a couple of days with this thing because I have no idea. I've never seen one of these cars. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. He calls me a day later. The car broke down, so I was like, well, that's even better for me. Whatever's broken now broke.
Broke for real, yeah.
He towed it in, and I finally got to play with it.
It's not intermittent.
I noticed that this thing has start stop, and there's a secondary battery in the trunk, and that battery was like sitting at 3.5, 4 volts. So I'm like, okay, I'm like not familiar with the system at all. So I jump it, and the car starts, but I still have some com codes. I couldn't find any service information except for a diagram. So I realized what's happening is there's a secondary relay that's operated by a module that Nissan itself calls it the EMCM, Energy Management Control Module. So I'm like, okay, I find this module, and it looks like a fucking TCM from like a Nissan Altima. Exact same figure, like pin configurations, they look identical. I ran the VIN number through Google, and it comes up as a TCM. But then when I look at the diagram for the vehicle, the TCM is inside the transmission, like most two-wheel drive Nissan Infinitis or rear-wheel drive Nissan Infiniti models. So I'm like, all right. So then I called the dealer, and we went back and forth for like a couple of hours, and they're just like, well, I just talked to my Infiniti Master Tech, and he has no idea what you're talking about. So man, I ended up paying for service information. I got a diagram for the start-stop system, and guess what? There's a module there called EMCM. So then I email this thing to the Infiniti dealer, and he calls me back. He's like, "Oh, it's because we know it as a idle stop control module." I was like, "What in the entire fuck?" And you guys haven't seen this? He's like, "I mean, I don't know what to tell you." I'm like, "But how can you say it's called something else, and your master tech never heard of it, but the diagrams say it's something else?" He's like, "Man,
Bro, they don't read diagrams.
They call it known good
Read
module.
code, throw part.
Yep."
In the service information, it says it specifically. It says it's called known good control module.
And it's $1,500.
$1,500?
Yep, $1,500. Plus, it needs a battery.
I mean, that happens too much, though. Unfortunately, right? You read the scan tool shows one terminology, the parts department shows another, the service information, like you have 3 different names for one thing.
Here's a wild part, right? Like ABS is flagging a no-com, ECM is flagging a no-com, and there's another module flagging a no-com, right? But yet the ABS is saying something about there's an issue in the ECM, and I think it's just a tattletale code. But like none of them are saying EMCM is offline. It's just saying there's a no-com, like typical Nissan bullshit. So that was my fun one for today.
Yay.
I have one real quick before Rich. It's a 2018 F-150. It had all kinds of like weird electrical symptoms, like gauges fluttering, and so I can't remember, like weird warning messages, erratic stuff. What do you guys think of initially when you hear that?
Say it one more time.
Just erratic electrical things like gauge fluttering, weird kind of erroneous warning messages.
Dead battery?
Yeah, battery or charging system.
Battery charging system, maybe network issues, something like that. Well, he gets in it and he can see, he's scoping the network. He sees all kinds of network faults. He's scoping the network, and it's intermittent, but he can see the network's kind of crazy. But throughout the process, Carlos kind of killed it. He noticed, basically he was starting to see evidence that the battery might be causing this. So he recommended a battery, sold a battery, put the battery in. Being that it was intermittent, we test drove it some just to make sure that it was going to be fixed before she, we told her it was ready to pick up. And I was not really involved with this one almost at all, but I had to run an errand, so I thought, well, we'll drive this thing to make sure you can build some more confidence on this thing before we deliver it. So I'm driving, and I pull up to a stoplight, and the truck stalls. I'm like, well, shit. So I put it in park and start it back up, and then I turn, I do my thing, and I come back to the shop, and I said, Carlos, the truck stalled. I just want to let you know. You might need to look at that thing a little bit more. I'm like, is that something that you've experienced? Like, if you duplicated a stall? He's like, no. So Carlos looked at it a little bit and came back at me and told me what was going on. Would you guys like to take a guess? What's going on with this?
It's running out of gas.
Running out of gas? That's a good guess.
The damn shop owner didn't put any gas in it. Drove it all over the place. No gas.
Before we get into that, who interviewed the customer? That's my first question.
JD interviewed the customer, I'm pretty sure. I don't think yeah, he definitely interviewed him. He was on vacation when all of that happened. But,
Chad says throttle body relearn after the battery.
The diagnosis, it's an auto stop truck.
Oh, God. Come on.
Real story, true story.
Will you slap him for me, Carlos?
Typical shop owner.
Only in Florida.
I'll tell you what, that's like
okay.
the most nerve-wracking thing for
a
mechanic is when the engine shuts off.
The first time I got into a rental car, wherever I was going, and the first stop I get to, the thing stalls. I'm like, gee, I gotta take this back.
Yeah,
I take my foot off the brake, it starts back up. I'm like, you teach a class on this.
Yeah.
I even 2-foot golf carts.
Well, I think we are in Florida. Average age of the vehicle on the national level is like 12 years old. It's probably older in Florida because we have no rust to contend with.
And that AC's blaring, so their start-stop's not shutting off.
It never shuts off. And I think I've experienced it a lot more in passenger cars and SUVs. I mean, I think we'd all agree pickup trucks are still fairly new with auto stop, aren't they? It's only a few years they've been.
No,
I turn that shit off. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Gotta tell you, Bram, when a car comes and shuts off nice and easy at a light, it doesn't really concern me anymore. It's when it fights you on the way down, that's when you worry. But when it shuts off like it should.
Well, it was like mad when I put it in park and I'm trying to start it and it didn't start right up either way too. Like it was you stupid ass. I did that intentionally.
The first thing I do when I get a car with stop start, you just step on a brake a little harder, and if it starts right up, it starts right up.
I don't know. I figured I would. We'd all get a laugh at my expense.
Good job.
We did.
That's okay. I had a car one time I was supposed to look at like a headlight being out or something. And as I get in this Highlander, I get out in there and I press the start button. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this thing isn't cranking. Walk all the way back in the shop. I'm like, Zach, did you see it was here for a headlight? And this thing isn't cranking. He goes, yeah, it's here for a headlight. I go back out to it. Zach walks halfway out to the shop and he goes, it's a hybrid, stupid.
That's.
And then you fired him on the spot.
I got called to a shop. A shop couldn't get this Toyota Highlander to start, and I didn't think twice about it. I hop in it with my scan tool and I hit the start button and it powers up, and I'm like, man, there's no codes or anything. And then I powered it up and I saw the ready light and I went, oh no. Put it in reverse. I pulled it into the shop. They looked at me like I performed a magic. I'm like, guys, it's a hybrid.
You performed the magic.
Because it pulls into the shop without the engine running.
That's what my wife says when she wants me to feel good about myself.
Nice.
Have you guys had the pleasure yet, though, of going out to a Prius that actually ran out of fuel, but then the customer clears the codes?
Yeah.
When they're
so you
cranking,
get there and there's nothing. It doesn't crank, right? It doesn't do anything at all. If you clear that hey, I'm out of fuel code, it just sits there and stares at you. It's like, not starting.
I like when they're
not going to do anything. Sorry, not.
I like when they're cranking without fuel, and it sounds like the thing's sitting there idling.
Oh yeah.
What?
Well,
they crank so fast that it sounds like the engine's idling. It's just not hot. The exhaust is cold.
I shared this story at Mario's thing that I put an inverter in like a Gen 3 Prius, and I got a call a week later. It was a used inverter because the shop didn't want to do it, so I put it in, and I get a call, and they go, "Hey, that thing got towed back. The inverter's not good." And I'm like, "Ah, crap." So I go there. I hook up my scan tool, and it's got a bunch of overcurrent codes. But it powers up, it readies up, and I'm like, what? And they said, yeah, it was all locked up. The tow truck driver had to drag it up onto the tow truck, and they had to drag it off of into the parking lot. We can't get it into the shop. So, it readies up. Everything looks fine. I put it in drive, and the whole thing trying to lurches forward.
Oh no!
And I look at the dash, and the brake light is on. And I take the parking brake off, and I pull the car around.
Good job.
The customer.
You did a magic.
The customer had set the parking brake, and then didn't realize it and tried to drive away, and that's why it had overcurrent. The tow truck driver didn't notice the parking brake.
And the shop.
And the shop didn't notice. That was great. That was an interesting conversation.
Well, while you're making sure that everybody knows how you came in and saved the world, I'll just throw myself under the bus again if you'd like. We had like a early 60s Oldsmobile come in. This is probably 2 or 3 years after we opened. And they drop it off basically just for us to kind of run through it mechanically. Just they're ready to kind of partially restore this thing, get it, reliable to drive fairly regularly. After we're done with it, they're going to send it to a body shop and get some. It looks pretty good overall, but they're kind of going to be picky about it, so they're going to send it to the body shop after we're done. But it gets delivered on a tow truck from a shop, like about an hour, 45 minutes south of us. The tow truck drops it off in the middle of the parking lot. You know how it goes. Never come in and asking you where you want. They just, before you know it, the car's just there and their tow truck's gone. But we get in it and it has no reverse. They never mentioned anything about it not having a reverse. I mean, we kind of had a pretty good idea what we're dealing with this car. They gave us some pretty good description of some of the symptoms they were dealing with and wanted us to address, and no reverse was definitely not one of them. Well, we end up rebuilding this transmission, only to find out reverse is not the first gear after park on this car.
Oh wow!
I got one a little bit better for you. So one of the guys I used to work with, Opus, Keith, Kelly, he got into the thing about buying old Corvettes, and he was talking about them and everything. And he's a Jaguar and Land Rover mechanic. It's all he's ever done. Sometimes he works on cars, and he was talking about he asked me if he knows I work on everything. So he's like, "Do you have anything that I got to take the steering wheel? I got to swap my ignition switch out. I got to swap my ignition switch out. You got anything to help me take out the steering wheel?" So I go home. I grab my steering wheel puller, and the little puller for the tilt wheel, to pull the key out. So I give him all the stuff. I go, "Kelly, by the way, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, I can't shut the car off. I think it's just got a bad ignition switch." I was like, "You can't shut the car off? Does it start up and runs good?" I said, "Yeah, it runs great. Just you can't. Ever since I bought it, you can't shut the car off." I was like, "Kelly, is this a 4-speed manual?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Put it in reverse." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, you got to put those cars in reverse, and that allows you to turn the key off." He was going to rebuild his entire steering column.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Which is, what year Corvette?
I wanted the late 60s.
Early, no.
Late 60s. Was a 4-speed with that key. We got to pull it up, put it in reverse, and then you can take the key off.
Yeah, that's like early 70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a Stingray Corvette.
Stingray, yeah.
Yes.
So the ignition switch wasn't even.
It was. He couldn't turn it off. He just didn't know to put it in reverse.
But he was going to tear that all apart, and the ignition switch.
I think there's a sign there that says put the car in reverse or remove the key. I'm pretty sure there's a sign. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, in this Oldsmobile, there wasn't a sign that says reverse is farther down, asshole. We rebuilt the transmission and the car still had no reverse. We started to investigate a little more.
But don't worry, it was slipping. Don't worry, it's good now.
Those clutches were all burnt up.
I felt the slip. I swear I felt the slip. Rich, didn't you have a case study?
I do have a case study.
That looks good before people leave.
All right, so they haven't left already? I'm impressed. All right, so let's see. Let me share my screen here. Are you seeing the blue screen there?
Yep, they got it.
I see it.
All right. So
you got to move it over, Brian?
No, they got it. I'm ready this time.
So, so I'm so glad it's been like a couple of weeks since we've done a live, because if we had done it when I wrote this case study, this would have come off much angrier. I went through this case study and I was like, oh, I was in a mood when I wrote this, and I deleted a whole bunch of files or a whole bunch of pages.
Like my wiring diagram rant a little bit ago.
Kind of like that. But man, I hate to be negative, but I'm ready to give up on this entire industry. I have to. I start to rant, and I want to bitch and complain, and I want to say, if you're offended by this, then good, because I mean it to be offending to you. I am so tired of people asking for help, whether it's a shop or somebody on Facebook or diag.net, when the information is when it is basic, easy to find, relatively simple, basic things in service information. It baffles me sometimes when people ask for help and you hand them the service information so that they can say to themselves, okay, I know how this works. Oh, okay, so now that I know how this works, I can figure this out for myself. And they will ignore that information because the next Yahoo actually said, oh, just replace the TCM. And they'll throw modules at a car instead of diagnose the problem. And it's,
by the way, Rich, that was me with Tommy today, just saying.
We all have those moments. We all
Oh,
have those
I
moments
had that today.
where we just want
I don't think I ever yelled at him like I did today.
I got yelled at by Tommy. He said, calm down.
Well, Chris probably got an erection because of it, though.
Yeah, I did a little bit.
So like this whole case study was a rant on text. What? What was that about avocado oil? Tommy muted himself.
He said something about it being short and needing avocado. I didn't know that worked like that.
Rich has been trying to get this case study out for like an hour.
I was trying to tell my wife I spilled a bottle of avocado oil. I thought I was muted. Thanks a lot, guys.
Sorry, Rich, go.
No, that's okay.
Is it the warming oil?
So I went on this rant and I edited a lot of it out of it because I was ripping into instructors sharing bad information and techs not doing just the most basic of efforts to find out problems for themselves. And I've been to a lot of shops lately because I'm doing mobile, and I am horrified by what I see going on out there. There was a post today in the ADAS group where a guy was having trouble doing a static calibration, and one of the responses, one of the suggestions was, you should balance the tires.
Okay. And then what?
If you're doing a static calibration where the car is sitting still,
you're going back through the original post like several times trying to make sure you didn't miss something where they mentioned a vibration.
and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, this guy is just messing with this. And then somebody said, "Are you messing with us?" And then he went, "No, I had a BMW where the dealer balanced the tires and that fixed the problem." And I'm like, anyway, you know what? Maybe if it was a dynamic calibration and the car is shaking so bad because
violently,
it's out of balance,
violently.
maybe. But this was a static. It was frustrating. So anyway, so some of what I'm going to talk about here is just looking at service information. If you've got a code, like we said earlier, so many guys just get a code and then they throw parts at the car, and it's like if you did just an extra 5 or 10 minutes of research and just understood why that code had said, you'd answer so many questions. And I'm going to rant about all of this, and then at the very end, I'm going to share a case study where something I have been saying for years is wrong. So as much as I'm bitching and ranting and bad-mouthing people and instructors and technicians, like, I'm going to share, in the end, I'm going to share something that proves me wrong. So just bear with me here. So, way too many guys treated trouble code as a part number. and they just need to ask themselves a couple of additional questions when they've got a check engine light on or when they've got a trouble code. Why did the PCM decide to set that code? What test or monitor was performed that made the PCM say to itself, yes, I need to turn this light on? Now, I've highlighted that there, circuit or performance. Does the code description have the term circuit or performance in it? And for years, I've been saying, if it says the word circuit, you're dealing with an electrical problem. The PCM is trying to tell you that I don't like the electrical operation of the circuit.
Usually.
And if it says
Rich, we're gonna put a pin on that, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
well, you won't.
He's
need to,
gonna
'cause
he's going to come
I'm
back
gonna
to
get
it.
there. Trust me, I'm gonna get there. Do we know where to find this information? Because again, the scan tool is not service information. The scan tool is telling you the results of the PCM's test or the module test. So you've got to go to service information. And we all know that several of our scan tools that we all know and love, English isn't their first language, so you can't necessarily trust that the description is accurate or correct. So you need to look in service information. This seems to be a general theme that goes through a lot of my classes lately. Is you guys got to look at service information because there are so many posts out there and questions out there that if the guy looked in service information, they would have found the answer. So, what's code set criteria? And I'm going to bring up an example, and it was in an older CTI class, and I ran into it at a shop. They have a 2015 Mazda CX-5 that's set in an oxygen sensor heater code, and they've already replaced the oxygen sensor heater, so it's back for the second time with the exact same code. So the code is a P0037, P0037, whatever you want to put. So I go to service information, and Mazda service information is pretty good and clear on this one. The PCM monitors the oxygen sensor heater output voltage. If the PCM turns the oxygen sensor heater off, but the oxygen sensor heater circuit remains low voltage, the PCM determines that the heater circuit has malfunctioned. Okay, fine. I've got this code. I go to freeze frame, and it happened after the car had been driving for about 26, 27 minutes. I don't remember the exact time. So here is the circuit. It's right in service information. It's right in the trouble code flowchart. And based on the code and based on the freeze frame, I say to the guys, you most likely got a bad oxygen sensor heater. And of course, what do I get? Oh, it's brand new. We just put that in. Still set in the same code. So, guys, did you do any testing? No, no, it's a heater. It's an oxygen sensor heater code. You just throw an oxygen sensor in it. And I started explaining how it works, and again, it was like trying to explain magic, because they had never bothered to do the research and understand how the circuit works. So there's our oxygen sensor heater on the screen there. We've got a fuse, we've got a main relay. When we turn the key on, power travels through the oxygen sensor heater, and the PCM provides the ground through the switch, through the driver inside of the PCM. So if you turn the key on and the fuse was blown, or this wire was broken, or the main relay wasn't working, the PCM would see at 0.2C no voltage, and it would set a different code, not a P0037. If you didn't have 12 volts at that point right there, the PCM sets a different code, a key on. The PCM then turns the oxygen sensor heater on. So when the PCM provides a ground, my voltage should do what across the load?
Drop.
It should drop. So what should my voltage be at 0.2C?
Almost zero.
Near zero.
Almost zero.
Yeah.
The PCM knows when it's turning the driver on. And
Rich, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you go back to the code setting criteria? Because maybe I read something wrong.
Go ahead.
All right. PCM monitors remains low. So
I'm getting there.
if the PCM, okay, sorry, okay, because what you're saying doesn't jive with the code. Okay, go on.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So So if the PCM doesn't see 12 volts here, it sets a different code. If the PCM turns the heater circuit on and doesn't see 12 volts drop to near 0 volts, it sets a different code, P0380038 or something like that. If the PCM turns the oxygen sensor heater on and sees the voltage drop, it assumes everything's working fine. And eventually that oxygen sensor is going to get to operating temperature. Maybe the customer's driving down the road and it builds up enough heat that the PCM turns the driver back off. The voltage should climb back up to 12 volts. It doesn't. And the PCM sets that P0037. So that's, I think, what you were asking. The PCM monitors the heater output voltage. If the PCM turns the heater off, but the circuit remains low voltage, the PCM determines.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Make sense?
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
The fact that I don't have any of those other codes means that when the customer turned the key on, there was 12 volts. The fuse is good. The wires are good. When the PCM turned the driver on, the voltage dropped. So there's a load. Doesn't necessarily mean the oxygen sensor heater is working, but the voltage dropped like it is supposed to. I don't have any other oxygen sensor codes. If the heater wasn't working, I'd probably get some slow response or lack of switching codes or anything like that. And based on that code and my understanding of how this code works, I made the assumption that you probably have a faulty oxygen sensor heater. It could be an open in the wiring. It could be a problem with the PCM. But if I had to guess, I would say that this heater is getting hot and going open. And when it's turned off, the voltage stays low. After it cools off for a while, it closes back up and everything works because the PCM isn't setting any of those other codes.
Mm-hmm.
Shop didn't believe me. I said, okay, let's hook up a scope to it. They didn't have a scope. I'm not leaving my scope there. I said, how many multimeters you got? And they scrounged up 2 multimeters. So again, write in service information. The one page about this code was the wiring diagram, the connector at the oxygen sensor heater, and this one was relatively easy to get to. And we hooked up 2 multimeters, and I said, let this thing run, go for a drive, get it hot, whatever you got to do. And I explained to them that if the code comes back, you'll have 13 volts going to pin C, which is the feed side in, near 0 volts when it's working. If the PCM turns the circuit off, and that voltage doesn't come back and it didn't drop here, then we're losing it somewhere inside of the oxygen sensor.
Question: Why did you first choose to go with the scope?
Just because we could look at 2 channels at once. Just because I thought, you know what, if they've got a snap-on scope, we could just look at both of them at the same time. Because I just wanted to be able to look at the voltage going in and the voltage coming out and be able to say it's going open in the middle.
What if the voltage were 1.2 volts on your multimeter? Good or bad? There's nothing in that code criteria yet about threshold voltage, right?
No, you're right. So we could have voltage drop or some other issue. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Or bad driver, failing driver, possibly.
Failing driver, right? Just something
true.
something that indicates. See, that would be my reason for choosing the scope in this, because if it's a control wire and my meter is auto ranging, do I know what it's auto ranging to? I can assume the duty cycle, right? But I mean, I could turn on and try to monitor a duty cycle. But if it's varying,
oh, I see what you're saying. If it's duty, okay, I didn't even think about
because that's an auto range, right? So that's where scope all the things.
Yeah, that's true. So a scope would have been the better solution here. You guys might want to record that. I don't know if I'll ever say it.
Can you repeat that again?
But the point is here, it was a bad oxygen sensor. It was a bad brand new oxygen sensor. And just, yes, it could have been a million other things, but the code itself and the fact that those other codes hadn't set kind of led me to testing this first. I could have been wrong, but I wasn't. Now,
Could have been wrong, but I wasn't.
I would gladly share you all the times.
What
I
happened
was
when
wrong,
Keith
but-
comes in with his authority voice and then you lose some confidence? You can hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I know. It was
Oh, whenever
instantly I went, shit.
whenever Keith says something, I was like, okay, what's he know that I don't know? And I'm wrong, and he knows it.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me when I was doing that Asian eval class for World Pack. Is Oscar Meyer asked the question, does anybody else use eSIM like Chrysler? And this was an Asian eval class, and I knew Oscar Meyer was Keith, and I'm like, oh, he knows something I don't know. Like he knows there's one car out there somewhere that uses that. I just totally started doubting myself. But
I never say it for doubt. I always say it just to intrigue more thought, right? Because
yeah, absolutely.
items like this right here, like looking at that PCM, what's monitoring the voltage?
Most heaters are controlled pulse width modulation, aren't they? I mean, every one that I look at.
Especially if it's a wideband. Honestly, I don't. 2015, I'm pretty sure it is.
Where that gets interesting is you start to even look at some of the newer Chevrolets and you'll start to watch what they're doing with the heater circuit, and you'll see it has a nice steady pulse width modulation that's going on there, and all of a sudden it just stops, just pauses, as though something were wrong, but yet you're watching the voltage, and the voltage goes from 2.5 and just creeps right back down to about 0.9, and then it kind of sits there. Then the heater comes back on again, and then it starts going in there and it switches from 0 to 1. And that's a typical, a view of what you'll see on a GM, where they're not going wideband, but they have stages of how they're operating that O2 sensor. And it's really interesting to watch because you'll just see the stop in that heater circuit, and it can last, depending upon the outside temperature, you could sit there for 2 minutes straight. That's 2 minutes of time that you might be out there testing going, uh-oh, here's my problem. I'm sitting here and I'm stuck in an O2 sensor that's at 1.2 volts. I don't know about you guys, but my 1.2 volts is usually me taking my fingers going like this, and one on the battery cable and one on the sensor, and going, hey, look, when I max out the voltage, it goes to 1.2. I'm good. That's not the case with GM. They'll stop around 1.2, wait for that heater circuit to come back in, or 0.9 to 1.2, and all of a sudden you see it go back down and it starts to switch again between the 0 to 1. It's an interesting thing, a little bit different than how Chrysler does it, but so when I look at things like this, that's kind of the things just experience-wise. I look at this and say, I don't know if I trust a voltmeter on this. Not as my only test, and if I did, I'd have to watch it over a period of time.
I decided I hate cars.
I'm right behind you.
So Chris.
I didn't do it.
No, but where's the PCM watching the voltage?
Where's the PCM watching?
How does it know?
How do it know?
How does it know? I think there's a little tidbit from your scope class, something about a power probe.
So it's kind of there's like a little pretend there's like a little multimeter right inside there.
Right where?
It's right inside of 2C.
Yeah.
So it's looking for something that's not quite 12 or not quite 0. Is generally when you set a circuit code. Is there anything in between? And I think that's what you're getting at, Keith. Like if it was a circuit code, what does it take before it turns into a circuit code?
What's at the tip of a power probe, right?
Well,
an idle power probe just sitting there. What's at the tip of a power probe?
Well, it's the same way a power probe works. It uses like a bias voltage.
So that's the only way it can tell if actually something's pulled down, right? If it had nothing at the tip.
Didn't you make a video on that?
Maybe.
I think I saw it. I remember watching that video, and there was a lot of loud beeping.
Yeah.
I hate that sound.
Why I don't pee on cars? That's right. No, that's exactly what it said. No, it's truth of the matter is though, really at the tip of the power probe, you have to think about how the circuit works, right? At the tip of the power probe, you're going to have some type of voltage. That's the only way you can determine if something is going to ground. Not because of resistance to ground, because it has to see a drop in voltage and then say to the module inside, hey, now's the time, see if you have continuity to ground. It can't just check for continuity to ground at all times. So let's say 0.2 volts at the tip of a power probe. If I go below 0.2, I'm going to signal that as a ground. Even if I have 100,000 ohms of resistance, which is what power probe does, it's ridiculous numbers. but they look for that change in voltage. And again, if it goes above the 0.2, that's when it determines, hey, we actually have voltage present, and then it'll display it or beep. One or the other.
No, not a half-blown fuse.
Right.
we have full-on voltage.
But knowing that logic, though, that's exactly what the PCM does. That's how it determines. I mean, otherwise, how would it be able to determine an open circuit code as opposed to a short to ground? The PCM's not doing a continuity to ground test, right? So it must have a bias voltage there that it sees get pulled down below, let's say 0.2 volts to ground. That would be, say, short to ground. If it was staying at 0.2, that's an open circuit. Anything above that is short to battery or the acceptable value.
Well, that's why, like, when people always used to ask me, well, what is the bias voltage for this car? It doesn't freaking matter. Check another sensor. It's not zero, not 12. It's not 0.
It's not 12 and it's not 0, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Except when it is 12.
Right.
This is why they brought me in tonight.
I saw somebody said pin tension, and pin tension could have also been a problem. But anyway, go ahead, Brown.
Why do your voltmeters look like a brown guy with a beard?
With no eyes.
No, giant forehead.
I stole them from that Colorado PHET program. Those are the only pictures I could find. That I could...
At 2 in the morning when you were angry?
Now
No,
I
that
can't
was,
unsee
that. Was 10
that.
minutes
Thanks,
ago.
Brent.
Yeah, now
I
that's all I see. Is
I
that.
can't unsee it.
Well, I was thinking you could take like some of the black insulation off and around the sides, and then put one in the middle, and it could be Mr. T.
I'm just imagining. Thank you,
You're gonna
come
get
again.
us
Thank you, come again.
Chef from South Park.
Oh, did I hear fans?
What
Hey,
How'd he get here?
wow.
How does this happen? Did you
He just
this
magically appears. Nobody gives him a link or anything.
What the hell?
That's the power of the podcast. Apparently, he can get anywhere.
Oh, he gets around, that's for sure.
All right,
giggity.
I got one more example, and then I'm done. I'll stop.
Okay.
And Chris, you started to jump on it earlier. Let me go back to that one. Something that I have said, like I said, I was going to share something that I've been wrong about. I have said for years, if it has the word circuit in it, you're dealing with an electrical problem. And it was Thurman who posted a problem with a Hyundai, and Brian actually I think was the one who called the actual diagnosis. But
What?
I covered up his name, but it's Thurman. He knows how to do this. So he said, I got a 2011 Hyundai Sonata setting a P0449, which if we look at the code definition, it is evap system vent valve solenoid circuit code. So as soon as I saw a circuit, I sent him a message. I said, hey, that's an electrical problem. And he talks about, he already replaced the canister close valve more than once, replaced it with an OEM part, and the code comes right back. And he says, what's weird is it's a circuit code, but I can control the valve with a scan tool, so a short isn't likely. And I decided, you know what, I got to go to service information. Let's look at this one up. And,
I remember this one.
You remember this one?
Yeah.
So, P0449, 2011 Hyundai Sonata. DTC description. The PCM measures pressure in the fuel tank by means of a tank pressure sensor during all engine operating states except stop and start. The PCM sets at P0449 if the PCM detects the fuel tank pressure is too low as a result of a stuck closed CCV. So this is a circuit code that is setting because, and they do give you threshold, because the fuel tank pressure drops below 30 HPA, or the tank pressure drops, less than 1.6 volts. This
What's that code?
P0449. So it was Brian who called it. Brian said, "Are you sure you don't have a clogged canister?" And it's acting like a stuck closed vent valve, and that's what it was. The canister was clogged. When the purge valve kicked on, the pressure dropped too low. The PCM is programmed to determine that low pressure sets P0449 that there must be a circuit issue or a stuck closed canister close valve. So I'm wrong. For the times that I have said circuit code always means you've got an electrical fault, this is a car that proves me wrong. But
I think it's been that way for a while, though.
With
Yeah.
what?
Cam crank correlation.
Yeah.
A lot of times
On
will set
older
circuit
Fords,
codes,
yeah.
but it's more about
Toyota.
PCM or whatever control module
Yeah.
expecting a certain voltage at a certain time, and if it doesn't see it, sets a circuit
Yeah.
code. But it's in actuality what we would think more of as a performance
Yeah.
code.
I think it boils down to, so I think the statement that generally speaking, those are clues that you can use. But what it boils down to is experience. Everybody's experience is a little different. Like if you've been burned in a situation where you see circuit in the description and you happen to find out it's a performance, then that lives and stays there forever, and you're always aware of that. But if you don't have that experience, just because of the mix of cars you're working on or whatever, then I can see how it could definitely trip you up. But you know,
Yeah, and you know, you have that one car that burns you. Yeah, that never leaves your head, and you're always thinking that again. This one bugged me just because I was like, I was like, that's not why that code sets. And I went and looked. This is a 2011 Hyundai Sonata. I went to a 2011 Kia P0449. If there is an open circuit, it sets that code. So
Yeah.
same year, same general manufacturer, it's a P0449 is a circuit code. On a GM,
man.
a P0449 is an open circuit.
Yeah.
You know, so and GM's description is absolutely terrible. 200 kilo ohm impedance between the signal and controller ground. That'll really throw you for a loop if you're listening to that. But it
Must
just
have been when they had that contract with Luke.
So it has frustrated me that some people are, including myself, have shared incorrect information sometimes. And
I do the same thing.
If we took the time to read the service information, so many things could be answered very, very quickly. And I know there are some people that comment, hey, did you read service information? And everybody gets pissed off at those guys. But if they're saying that, it's because they know the answers.
They see something in the way you're writing it up that it's clear to them that you haven't.
You know, one of the case studies I wiped off of this because I had the guy's name and everything, and I wanted to call him out. But it was a transmission solenoid code, and he just didn't understand electrically how the circuit worked or how the PCM monitored it. And he was scoping his head off, and he had a known good car, and you could see the difference between the known good and the bad, and he just refused to actually to read that service information and understand it. He just wanted somebody to give him the silver bullet, and he threw a trans, a valve body, a wiring harness, and a TIPM at a Chrysler that had a bad ground, because he didn't understand what code set criteria was, what Chrysler was looking at to determine if that solenoid actually did work or not. And it was frustrating to say the least, because when you spoon feed it to them and they ignore you to throw parts of the car, I give up.
Richard asked if that was a OEM or OBD2 code. If it's a P0, that's going to be a generic code.
Yeah, it'd be a generic code.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that's it for me. That's my rant. It could have been a lot worse. But, so back to you guys.
Keith, what do you have? It looks tasty.
It's ice cream.
Chicken and garlic sauce.
That's
I
not
just
ice.
have
That's a
this
weird
to say
flavor of ice
to
cream.
It
Richard.
is totally.
I just have this to say to Richard. 18.
Oh, I moved up a couple. Okay, thank you. I had cracked the top 10 there for a while, and then I went to Miami or something. I had a hotel room on the beach.
Oh.
So how are you doing, Mr. Fanslow?
Who let you in here? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, how's that even happen?
I was doing something else, and I opened up Zoom, and I ended up in here.
Are you in your jammies? Your voice sounds so soothing right now. Like,
Yeah.
like my ear hole feels really good.
I'm hiding, so my wife
does.
doesn't
He does
come
have a
in here and
radio
tell me to
voice.
do
Maybe you should
something
get
to
into
ready for
radio,
Thanksgiving.
You know what? That's a good voice for a podcast. And a face, too.
Oh, shit.
Ouch. And I love it.
Wow.
I owe him a couple.
I'm just saying my ear holes feel really, really lovely. Is that a Neumann mic? Is that the NPR microphone you're using? Because it sounds really good.
Hey, do us a Tiny Desk concert right now.
It's love potion number 8.
Can you say
It's tickling your ear hairs.
no, Sybilis?
Oh, the ball sack.
Yeah,
That's
Chris,
number
put your
9.
headset on. Put your headset downstairs.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. What else are we doing? Is that it?
Oh, I don't know.
I was gonna say, just to Richard's point is, I think people often set you up for failure when they look for your help, don't they? There's, of course, our audience is very good, but when
They are.
you want to help people, right? But the problem is, once you start that process, more often than not, those people are already setting you up for failure before you even really start, because they refuse to do the things you need them to do to find the answers.
I would question Mr. DeFazio on that. Does that happen?
Oh, it happens.
I mean, when you get
A
tech
lot.
support calls, the first hurdle is just figuring out what do they actually know so that you can explain it to them.
I have people from countries I can't find them on the map. Like you enter it into Google and it says, "Are you sure?"
There can't
That's-
possibly be a
that's all
car
my
here.
prank calls.
But I mean, and what happens too is that you'll make some suggestions and they seem like you get frustrated because they seem like they're ignoring those suggestions.
Yes.
And what I think is happening is that they are too embarrassed to tell you that they know what you've suggested, how to do what you've suggested. Like
No.
even recording scan data.
No.
Like they don't know how to record
They
scan
don't
data.
know. Yeah. I
It
have
would
this
be hard to
theory.
make blanket statements because I think there's a lot going on. Sometimes they
Yeah.
wait till they just, kind of like Chris said at the beginning, they just hate cars. They're so over it that the only reasonable thing they'll listen to is a silver bullet. Like, just tell me what to fix the car. I don't want to test anymore.
They're so upside down on it.
Yep. I just want the car out of here, but I don't want to tell the customer I can't figure it out.
You only get that out of me after I know for sure that you've had a couple of sleepless nights worrying about that car before you're going to get a silver bullet from me.
But I also wonder, I mean, how long have some of these websites been around? Do we have an entire generation of techs at this point that grew
Yes.
up with silver bullets and they
Yes.
just don't
Well,
know?
yeah.
They
Yes.
don't know to look elsewhere. So that's their only solution. And it's
Because they don't call it that. They call it trend diagnostics.
Yeah.
Or statistics.
Right. Go away with that crap.
Statistical diagnostics.
You want the trend? The trend is walk up to the car with a diagnostic process each and every single time, and you're going to win. That's it. That EVAP system code, that's a system code. I don't care what it says. There is no Korean, Japanese, or Chinese word for solenoid. So when I see something that's in there, how come up on top it says solenoid? Everywhere else in there it says canister closed valve. Right away I'm thinking, they don't know. It just means something to do with the valve. Treat everything as a system code and you'll win.
There's an interesting ego contradiction that occurs with it too, because I've swallowed my pride enough to ask for help, but now I don't want to let on that I don't know something or I didn't do something. So like the classic one was, it's got a lack of power. What's fuel pressure? It's good.
Yeah.
What's good?
My gauge doesn't say
Mildly
good.
insulted that you dare ask me what fuel pressure is. You don't think I checked that already? I'm not some idiot.
Yeah.
What was the
And
voltage
then
drop? It was
ultimately,
0.
it ends up, yeah, they finally produced the number, and you're like, you realize that's low, right? You know, you looked up the wrong engine VIN or something. You know, they didn't quite understand that. In this case, close isn't enough. It's got to be over 60. If it's not over 60, it's bad.
Oh, speaking of fuel pressure, Brian, what happened with that Audi?
Oh,
I'm still waiting to hear from him. So it wasn't the fuel though.
I had a shop say the same thing to me. Fuel pressure's good. Okay, what was it?
It was good.
Well, we didn't put a gauge on it. Then how do you know it's good? Well, I stuck my screwdriver in the Schrader and it shot out. Okay, so do you have a height chart, like an inches per psi that you put next to it? Like, please explain to me how that means good. But anyway,
There's definitely ego there because they want help, but they don't want the help to come too easy.
They don't know. Yeah.
Well, they don't want the help to come too easy. They want everybody that's paying attention to their post to say, "Wow, that was a tough one," you know.
Yeah. And I also think, and this is again just my opinion, because of where I've been teaching lately and some of the shops I've been into that don't know who I am or any of this, we're preaching to the choir. To all the guys watching us right now, you probably already know all of this stuff, and you know, we go to the same training events, we see the same couple of hundred guys over and over and over again. It's like there's another 800,000 technicians in this world that have no idea that we exist or these resources exist, or you know, and it's like, how do you reach the guys that don't even know? And, you know, when I go into these corporate classes and start talking about, and I start sharing YouTube videos and Facebook groups, you see their eyes light up. They're like, "Oh crap, I didn't know that stuff. I just went on YouTube to look at Scotty Kilmer," and you're like, "Oh God, there's so much more than that," and they just don't know. So I don't know how to reach those people. So
Yeah, there's the ones that don't know, but there's also the ones you see at every trade show, or not trade show. That's not right. Training event. They're at ASTE. They're at Vision. They're at STX. They're at all of them. And there's something to be said about taking in information, whether it's watching you guys tonight or the many nights before, and being able to take that and go to the shop the next day or the next week or the next month and apply that. Even if they don't remember specifics, like, oh, I remember Keith talking about this one car, and even though it's not the same car, there's a premise here that's shared, and I can apply that. And I don't know that that's such a widespread skill.
I just gotta say, since I got the good headphones on, my God, your setup.
Chris, where's your other hand?
You don't want to know.
It's on his Mike's Hard Black Cherry.
It reminds me of was it Howard Stern, that movie where he had to
WNBC.
Matt, I just want to say, like, since you've been doing that podcast, good God, you're meant for the podcast life.
I've been smoking more cigars to get my voice.
Do you have many leather-bound volumes? Does it smell like rich mahogany?
Yeah.
So no, Brian, I want to talk about that Audi for real quick. What did the dealer say was wrong with that car? What was in the fuel?
They told me the fuel was bad. They couldn't say what was bad. They told me that.
Did you prove the fuel was good by setting the engine on fire?
That's the fastest way.
That's the Brian test.
But hold on, let's go back. I mean, you got nothing prepared for that car, but let's talk about that one real quick. So you had a, what was it? Was it an A4 or something like that? An A6?
Jetta, Passat.
Oh, it was a Passat.
The Volkswagen.
And you had
1.8
low and high fuel pressure codes.
Low
right?
and high. Yeah, low side was dropping.
Okay, and you had high fuel pressure codes on a direct injected vehicle. Right.
Bad.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go on.
No, you go.
So you have a direct injected vehicle, and you have high fuel pressure codes and low fuel pressure codes. Where would you guys go with that?
You're looking at low fuel pressure system.
Yeah,
Low fuel delivery system.
Well, you always start
What kind
low.
of car is this?
It was a Volkswagen Jetta,
A 1.8 liter,
direct injected.
yeah, GDI, like a 16, I want to say.
Yeah,
Needs a camshaft, a follower, a high pressure pump, and a low pressure pump.
No, that's the earlier motors. No. But the thing is that this car, right? It's a regular direct injected system. You got a low in pressure fuel pump that feeds that.
What can cause high pressure?
Timing.
Why? Okay, Tommy. Why timing?
Depending on the design of the pump or actually the valve, you can have high pressure. Hold on.
Well, the way I always talk about GDI is it's almost like a gasoline diesel, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how do you raise fuel pressure in a diesel?
Adjust timing.
Adjust your pump timing, right? Because the way that fuel pressure regulator, and those cars have a fuel pressure regulator. It's not a sensor. Everybody seems to think it's a sensor on the fuel pump, but it's a fuel pressure regulator. It's a 2-wire solenoid. Its only job is to either 1, keep fuel pressure in, or 2, keep fuel pressure out, depending on the design of the fuel pump. And that is a normally open, Brian. Like, you unplug it, fuel pressure drops.
Yes, it drops.
Okay.
Yes.
So on that car, if the fuel pump pressure regulator goes bad, you will have low fuel pressure.
Yeah.
So it cannot be the fuel pressure regulator causing your high fuel pressure codes, most likely. But you started with low side fuel pressure, and your pressure was low, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that car, if you look at service information, it's going to give you service information. Basically, I speak freedom units, so it's a 83 to 87 psi. That's what it wants to see at idle. And you had what?
I had that until it was under load. When I was accelerating, it would fall on its face, and it was very active, very fluttering.
Mm-hmm. Which is what it's supposed to do. Those cars, it doesn't really. That car doesn't have a return line, so what it does is
or a muffler type thing on the line,
Exactly. So when the fuel pressure control valve actually works, it bleeds the pressure back into your low side line, and that's what causes the gauge to go crazy. People think it's bad. That's how it's supposed to work, right? And your pressure was fine until you put it under a load, and then it just dropped right down, which means that low side fuel pump was just not enough to keep up. And in those cars, you have to put a factory fuel pump in there because the aftermarket ones are only capable of 60 psi. Put a fuel pressure control module in it because all that is just a really fast relay that breaks down. Check it with a scope. But I think you checked all those things, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So in these GDI systems, you always start with the low side, and you work your way to the high side. Because if your low side sucks dick, you can't make high side pressure. Right? How's that for
that's actually in service information.
It says it exactly where it works.
So you did that. You put the parts in. You put the parts in, and your low side fuel pressure got better, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So then you thought you were right. You shipped the car.
Yep.
And it came back.
Even the symptoms had gone away.
Yeah. And what symptoms did you have?
It was bucking. Felt like a lean misfire under heavy load, like like a fuel pump problem.
Yeah. So you put the fuel pump in, put the fuel pump control module in, factory stuff, put it in. Symptoms went away. Car came back. What, like a couple days later?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the same. Was a PO341 or something like that? No. It was a
only the no cam codes.
Okay. So, but it was a low and high fuel pressure code.
It was just high that came back.
Oh, so it was just a high fuel pressure code.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now you know your low side's good, but you go to high side. But you really can't. I mean, very rarely I would expect to see a fuel pressure go high. But again, what could cause the high fuel pressure, Tommy?
I don't know.
Well, you said timing, and you're right.
Oh, so it was out of time.
So I told Brian, I think, scope the timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can check against the known good, and you were off, right?
Yeah, it was 8 degrees.
about 8 degrees off.
Yes.
And I remember I wrote a thing about this, and I showed you the article, and the threshold to set a cam correlation code is what? Wasn't it 9 or 11?
Yeah, it's beyond the difference that I had. It did not have cam timing codes, but I was off, but not quite enough to make it set a cam timing code.
Exactly. So the fuel. So what you got to understand is there is no position sensor on the fuel pump. The car assumes that it is in time, and it will regulate as it's in time. So if your timing is off, it's going to regulate at the wrong time. That depending on how far it's off, fuel pressure will either go up or go down depending on where you are in that lobe on the chain. And you were off enough to cause the fuel pressure to go up, but not off enough yet for a cam correlation code.
Yep.
And you also pulled the little rubber seal and saw that the little tensioner was out a little bit.
The tensioner was out, not quite as much as the picture that you had in your article, which was like really bad. The picture that you had, but it was extended quite a bit, and I think there was a bulletin that says how many of those threads, I guess, of the tensioner that it can be extended, and I think it's like 7.
Yeah. And I remember you were telling me because I don't think
I was quite near what that bulletin had said, but it was extended.
Yeah, and it sucks because you didn't misdiagnose the car. You found a problem. It just happened to have another problem, but you had to walk in there with egg on your face because there was still another problem, and your boss had to explain to the customer how, you had this problem, but guess what? You also got this problem, but you don't have a code for this problem. But trust me, your timing chain that's not causing a code is causing your fuel pressure issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The customer said he literally said you're full of shit right to my boss. So, but after we invited him, and I had that article that you had written, and I had him read that, and then I had everything that I had tested printed, all the documents that I could possibly have to educate the customer on the situation at hand, and calmed him down, and he was under the impression that we're on the right path. So he didn't leave upset, which is great.
But he wanted a second opinion from the dealer, right?
Yes, he ended up going to Volkswagen.
So take over the story, because this is hilarious.
Volkswagen told him he needs a crankcase ventilation vent valve, which I have photos of me checking, and it was right on the money, perfect.
And that's going to cause the
fuel pressure code,
excessive high pressure.
Yeah, of course.
So they had put that on. He agreed to have that replaced, and then the customer went to go pick it up. He didn't leave the parking lot, and the check engine light was on. So he had went back inside. They said they can't look at it now. It's going to be another week until they can continue looking at it.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine telling a client that picks up a car from your establishment that you can't look at it for another week when you just clearly
didn't fix it correctly? Instead of getting it back in right away, they told him it's going to be another week.
Oh, they don't give a shit.
So, but hold on, this gets even better. Keep on going, Brian.
So that week went by. He brought it back a week later, and they had done some more testing.
Yeah, testing in quotes.
And they told him the fuel is bad. You had picked up bad fuel. So he's like, "You're full of shit. I always get gas here." Blah blah blah. He's all pissed off again. And as far as I know, that's where it stands right now. I don't think that it's been resolved yet. But
so please tell me, can somebody please tell me how bad fuel can cause a high fuel pressure?
Yeah.
Unless it's like fucking water.
Viscosity. Viscosity.
It's
Is
molasses.
that thicker fuel?
Thicker fuel. Yep.
Okay. Thicker fuel. Please run a molasses.
1540 octane.
It's like Willy Wonka fuel. It like expands on its own or something.
Yeah.
Everlasting.
Chris, you added some information in the beginning of this here that I'm really, really curious about, though, and I'm here to learn. So your high pressure fuel pump, you said when it gets too high, it can bleed back to the low. How?
On that system, on that particular type of system,
Do they have a return or something?
That that system does not have a return. There's one line going in. So when the regulator valve opens, because that is normally open. So when the regulator valve is shut off, there's no power and ground. Well, there's power but no ground going to it. The pressure will bleed back, and it bleeds back into the feed line. So that's why when you hook your gauge up to those cars, the gauge dances and goes crazy. You think something's broken. That's how it's supposed to work.
Fantastic.
Yeah. On I think even the normally closed ones, there is a return line, but that is like that's when shit goes really bad. You hear it whistle, and that's when it goes back into the tank. But even those ones, they feed back in. Good. On that particular system. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the oh shit's about to happen valve.
So they just stop the regulator at some certain point and allow the high pressure to bleed off from there.
Exactly.
From the rail. So they just change the duty cycle enough to make it head back to the low side?
So the duty cycle, it actually really doesn't change all that much, but it's assuming that your engine is in time, and that's key because there is no position sensor.
Right, because what I keep on thinking is you have the inlet coming into the pump, you have the outlet going to the rail, but there's nothing from the rail back towards the low, so it can only go back through the pump, correct?
Right.
Correct. On that system, yes.
Right. So they have to be messing with the regulator enough. Just curious, something.
Well, the regulator, they have the duty cycle set up, so it makes the correct at idle 30 to 50 bar.
Richie, you feeling better? Oscar Mayer is in business, pal.
What did I miss?
Nothing. No, I'm only teasing. But say hi. We have a visitor.
Hi. You're right, say hi to everybody. You're right there. You're right there. Hi. Hi. They're all saying hi to you.
All the YouTube people are saying it too.
Yeah, they're all saying hi too. Hi. Bye. So on that system, the fuel pressure regulating valve regulates at a certain spot, depending on RPM and all that other crap, assuming that the engine is in time to keep a certain fuel pressure.
See you later, Matt. Have a good Thanksgiving, bud.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Peace, Mr. Canada.
Yeah, man. So, and you find that I find that in particular with German vehicles, it's a lot of assumptions. The problem isn't with me; it's with you. Your stuff is broken. We're fine. So there is no like in a lot of American cars and Japanese cars. There's like a backup system that there's redundancies. Yeah, there's redundancies. Our stuff doesn't break, so there's no redundancies.
I'll tell you what, having them look at it and come up with these, obviously
Crazy.
incorrect answers, I feel a little bit better about myself.
Well, what sucks is because they got that name on the side of the building.
Yeah, I mean they
can get away with that shit.
They should be the
You can
specialist.
just say goddamn dealer text.
Oh damn! Hold on, wait. Let me make sure PJ's here. Hold on.
Yeah, that's
he's here.
I was saying it. That's what I was saying. He's not a dealer tech anymore. We can say whatever we want.
Oh, he's a dealer tech at heart.
Dealer tech.
I'm no longer. Yes, you are.
He's here.
Yes, you are. I keep saying I'm not a Floridian, and they don't believe me. So you're a dealer tech.
No.
Yeah,
That's crazy. I'm sitting here watching right now. There was a seismographic event in Pittsburgh somewhere.
What?
Must have been when I took a deuce when I left.
That was that bad bearing crossing Pittsburgh.
That was that chuck rules that they gave me at the damn wedding. Talking about fillet my ass.
Only if you want. I mean, okay.
All right, have we run out of gas?
I think we have overstayed our welcome.
We got a really good question. Yeah. Are we sending a technician to Vision next year?
I hope so.
I think we are.
Can we send me to Vision? Can we send me to Vision? I want to go to Vision.
You can only go if you work, like literally the entire time.
I got to say that if you guys didn't see the beginning part of our show here, we have a Black Friday special going on for everything that's on our store online. If you enter promo code Black Friday into our store, everything's 30% off. So I have a whole bunch of hoodies that my wife has logoed up with our logo. So
Blood, sweat, and tears. I'm talking. She's got no fingers left.
yeah,
She works so hard.
I don't even pay her.
So hard.
Well, they're the new design, and underneath the Train by Tex logo, it says,
I hate
"We'll be
Brian.
back." I think.
Call it. Can we call it Black Hard Friday? You know, in respect to Mike.
Dallas is asking. Dallas Auto Diag.
You can donate in this chat right now, or use our website. There's a donate link as well.
Or just buy a sweatshirt from us. 'Cause
Yeah, or
then
that.
you get a
Yes.
sweatshirt, and that money goes to sending somebody to Vision or ASTE or all of them.
Yeah, and it's a pretty awesome sweatshirt. Totally not made in China.
Indone-
It's made in Ohio, which is
Indonesia.
worse.
Thank you.
Come on.
Instead of eyes like this, it's eyes like this.
It's assembled in Ohio with globally sourced parts.
Exactly.
There you go.
Assembled in an Ohio basement with globally sourced parts.
I need to put the tag on the packaging.
I don't think. Wait a second. PJ says I was just going to say I don't want a shirt made in Ohio. Somebody from Pittsburgh can't talk either. There,
Do you have your shirt that my wife made you on right now, PJ?
Oh,
The orange
shots fired.
the orange colored one with this weird looking dog on the back.
Fired.
The only thing I can envision in Pittsburgh is somebody talking like a surfer.
A surfer. What?
Yeah.
What is that accent? Like what is?
It's
like-
they sound like they're like they just spent time at the beach, like surfer guys and everything. Yeah, so we're working on this here, and it's like, yeah.
That's that.
I don't quite get it. There's a whole different. They even have their own language.
That's that Amish
PJ.
dialect.
PJ, how do they say it again? What is it, Pittsburghanese or something? Or...
It's called Dutch. The Amish speak it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it time to go?
I think it's
Isn't
time.
Pittsburgh just Eastern Ohio? You know, Corey, I think you're right.
Ohio isn't that bad, says the guy from Cincinnati.
Well, isn't Ohio West Pittsburgh then? I mean, what?
We're terrible.
Ohio doesn't exist, right? Right, Isaac.
I remember I drove from Ohio to Detroit. I mean, it was a pretty cool drive. Very windy, but it was fun.
It's been a windy day.
It was a windy day. Yes. Well, I drove a little Mini in the middle of winter.
Oh, I remember that.
No check.
When you stopped at my house, yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
fun.
I stopped at your house, and then it snowed. I'm like, how do I get out of your driveway that I can't see? that was eventful.
My driveway's perfectly straight. All you gotta do is go that way.
It was dark out. It just snowed. I couldn't see. No traction. No lights. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Felt like I was gonna get raped.
Oh, well, you're
Oh, well.
That was just hanging out with Brian.
raped again.
Yeah, I was like, again? I got to rest. Oh, well.
All
All right, I'm tapping out, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Me too. I'm done.
Hey, Thanksgiving. Happy.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Keith, how's your Thanksgiving gonna be?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Somehow 11 turned into 22. Isn't that fantastic? On Saturday it changed. Yes. I have the receipt to prove it. It just keeps on going and going. Yeah.
So I can come down. There'll be leftovers.
Yeah. Well, actually, PJ's welcome to come over. We have chicken nuggets for the kids.
Well, that and Jason Chavez, right?
Probably gonna book a flight.
I'm still mad about Jason getting a cheeseburger at $2.39. I'm like, come
The
on.
best barbecue in the country.
I told you, man. Fucking brown people.
That is kind of funny. I wish I was there for that. Like, did you guys even let him enjoy his burger?
Hell,
Or did you just
no.
bust
I
the
didn't
ball?
say anything. I didn't want to make him feel bad.
Oh,
until
I
much,
would have.
much later.
I would have.
Oh, we got more Ohio people.
That's
in here.
right.
Watch out! Watch out! Vic Automotive Keys and Diagnostics is gonna come after us.
Okay.
Chillicothe.
Chillicothe.
Chill.
Chill-
Chili coffee.
Chillicothe. Really?
Yeah.
It's that kind of party. All right, I think it's done. I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. I hope we are.
Hey, thanks for
Jason's
your
gonna be riding.
contributions tonight, Mike Robinson.
Mike, man. You know you can just watch this on
Night.
YouTube, right? Fucking guy.
Wait, we went an entire show without Mike's kitchen light.
Or his
Mike.
head.
Mike, can we look at the top of your head, please? Turn your camera on.
Oh, oh.
Hold
No,
on.
it's covered up. I'm outside.
I gotta end this live stream.
You're really in the doghouse now.
Good night, everybody.
Peace
Good
out.
night.
Bye.